What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to talk about a pretty interesting find that came out of CES this past week. There's some pretty sweet stuff that came to the gaming world, and in particular, the controller space. And shockingly enough, one of the coolest controllers to come out of CES so far came from ASUS. Well, ROG, which is a part of ASUS. So now we have an ROG branded gamepad, but is it any good? So again, it's been a big week at CES 2023. A lot of different things have come out, but that's not really what I'm here to discuss, as there are simply too many things to cover, and I'm going to leave that coverage to Linus and the LTT team. But anyway, let's get back to this controller that was just debuted and actually looks pretty sick. So ASUS has a sub-brand called ROG, or the Republic of Gamers, that focuses heavily on gaming peripherals, motherboards, graphics cards, monitors, pretty much anything that you can think of gaming related. ROG does. Even so much to the point that they did a collaboration with IKEA to produce gaming furniture, like desks, chairs, and so on. And funny enough, on this channel, I've actually reviewed one of the ROG IKEA collaboration chairs, so I'll put that video up here and you can check that out for yourself. But anyway, at CES, ROG announced their brand new Pro Xbox and PC controller, the Raikiri Pro. Now, the Raikiri Pro, upon first glance, actually looks like one of the coolest controllers that I've seen to date. It appears to feature very good ergonomics, much like you would expect on one of the Microsoft controllers like the Series Elite 2, or even just a base model Xbox controller. Because I think overall, those controllers have very, very good ergonomics and work for aggressive players and just casual gamers who want a very comfortable controller. But what's great is when you start with such a great ergonomic shape and you add in some of the features that the Raikiri Pro has, you might be onto something in the pro controller space. Now, this controller was just announced, so all of the full specs and full features might be part of the information that's on the website, and it might not be. We don't really know. But just based off of the website and the announcement video that they did, we can see that this controller has some really cool specs and definitely packs a punch when it comes to pro controllers. So starting off, a few things about this controller, and one that they're actually promoting heavily is the built-in OLED display. Now, this is definitely a first for any third-party manufacturer of controllers, and ROG is definitely known for adding these type of displays on some of their graphics cards, motherboards, etc. But to actually have it there at the top of your controller looks pretty sweet. And they said in the video that on this OLED display, you can put custom animations, custom wallpapers, custom text, status indicators for anything on your PC or your Xbox, whether your microphone's muted or not muted, and it will actually serve as a hub if you're trying to switch profiles on the fly in the controller without having to launch any other sort of software. Now, speaking of software, they did announce that everything would be customizable on this controller through ROG's Armory Crate software, and some of the little snippets that I've seen, it looks like you can customize quite a bit. Now, outside of the sweet OLED display, this controller works on PC as well as next-gen Xbox consoles and can be connected one of three ways. So it can be a standard wired connection, a wireless Bluetooth connection, or wireless via the 2.4 gigahertz dongle, which is great that they added that flexibility. Now, also what makes this a pro level controller is that it does have 4 back buttons. And I have to say, just looking at the photos and the videos of this controller, these buttons look like they're in a very, very good spot. Ergonomically speaking, they look like they would be very easy to hit for hands of all shapes and sizes. And they actually look sort of reminiscent of Scuff's back panel technology that they added on their newest Xbox and PC controllers. But I do think that these back buttons will be much easier to hit than, for example, like the Razer Wolverine controller, which I know a lot of people have an issue hitting those back buttons on. And I also think the Raikiri Pro might have better back button options than even the Series Elite controller from Microsoft. Now, speaking of Microsoft, this controller is an officially licensed Xbox product. So for you console boys out there like myself, this will work seamlessly across your system without any issues, which is always good because it's never fun to have bugs or issues with a third-party controller. Now, in standard pro controller fashion, in addition to the back buttons, you also get customizable trigger locks. And it appears as though they may actually only be a two-way, which means you have the full trigger pull, and then you can lock them and get that really short, quick trigger pull. So this sounds very similar to like the Razer Wolverine V2 Chroma, which only has that two-way. You have either a full trigger or about a 50% trigger. trigger. And this varies compared to like the 3-way trigger stops that you get on the Elite Series 2, which offer a little bit more customization on the triggers themselves. But either way, it's got your back buttons, it's got the trigger locks. What more could you really ask for in a Pro controller? Now, another thing that ROG did tout about the Raikiri Pro is that it's supposed to have state-of-the-art audio due to the built-in ESS DAC that's built into the 3.5mm audio jack itself to give you the most immersive audio that you can get out of your favorite games. Now, all of the profiles, the changing of the OLED screen, any sort of customization that can be done to the controller appears to only be able to be done through their Armory Crate software, which as of this moment, I believe is only going to be on PC. However, that could change and they could make an actual app in the Microsoft Store to throw this on Xbox as well. But even if you have to plug your controller into your computer just to change some profiles, it might not be so bad if everything can truly be done on the fly on the controller so that you don't have to keep going back to your PC and then back to your console, because that would just get annoying after a while. Now, they did not announce any sort of release date or price point for this controller, which has a lot of individuals a little scared because sometimes ROG can charge quite a bit for their things. I'm looking at you, motherboards. But either way, my estimation is that this controller is probably going to come in somewhere between $175 and $250. That brings me to some of the cons of this controller, as with the built-in OLED display, I do expect this controller to be pretty expensive, yet it does seem to lack some of the basic features that most other Pro controllers include right out of the box. For example, they have no mention of any sort of adjustable thumbsticks, swappable thumbstick tops, anything like that, which if you're an Elite Series 2 user or you like the Razer Wolverine V2 Chroma, you can swap out your thumbsticks anytime you want. There's also no mention of if these joysticks use potentiometers or if they use Hall effect sensors, but my assumption is that they're just the standard cheap potentiometers. As in this day and age, when it comes to controllers, a Hall effect sensor would definitely be something they would be talking about. The other con that I see with this controller is that there's not a single mention of any sort of mechanical switches on any of the buttons. Now, unless you've used the Razer Wolverine controllers for Xbox or PC, you may not even know what I'm talking about, but one of the reasons that I personally love Razer controllers is that they have mechanical face buttons, mechanical D-pad, and they even have mechanical switches for the extra bumpers that you get on the top. And I hope one of these days we'll start throwing mechanical switches on as many of the switches and buttons as they can, especially those back buttons. But other than Razer, the only other way that you can really get those like mechanical instant type switches are going with a customized one like Battle Beaver, AIM, or Scuff. But like I said, as of this announcement and all of the information on the website, it seems as though the Raikiri Pro is just rocking with standard membrane controllers, much like the Elite Series 2. So with all of the good and the coolness of this controller, it definitely does lack a few things that most other Pro controllers have just standard. And if this controller is priced competitively with like the Elite Series 2, for example, I do think it'll do quite well. But if it's more expensive than that, I don't see a point in really buying this other than the sheer vanity of having a custom OLED display on your controller. But regardless of the price point, ROG did announce the standard base model Raikiri, which is a wired-only controller, has only 2 back buttons instead of 4, and appears to have a slightly different D-pad. And I'm not sure if that means that it's a 4-way D-pad versus an 8-way D-pad on the Raikiri Pro, as the Raikiri Pro didn't say if it was an 8-way multi-switch D-pad or not. So I don't really know, but when you're on their website comparing the two, you'll see that visibly the D-pad is different looking on the cheaper version of the Raikiri. But overall, I think these controllers definitely have a place in the market, as the position of the back buttons look better than most, and having that premium audio feature will definitely be attractive to pure audiophiles in the gaming world. And I mean, come on, the OLED display, that's pretty sick. But that's going to do it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed watching it. If you did like this video, make sure and drop me one of these. I'd really appreciate it. And let me know down in the comments below what some of your favorite products from CES are. If you like the video and the other content that I'm putting out, make sure and hit that subscribe button. And if you're not subscribed to the channel yet, I mean, I have no energy for this. What are you doing? Thanks for tuning in, guys. And as always, stay happy, stay healthy. Peace.